let's take a look at one more graph that's not going to generate a straight line. How about y equals x squared minus 1? Again, we're going to generate a table of ordered pairs. To graph this, we start by generating a table of ordered pairs. We do that by assuming an x value and calculating what the y value would be. I'll start with 0. If x is 0, we'd have 0 squared, which is 0 minus 1. Y would be a minus 1. If x is 1, we'd have 1 squared. 1 times 1 is 1. Minus 1 is 0. If x is 2, we'd have 2 squared, which would be 4. Minus 1 is 3. If x is 3, we'd have 3 squared. 3 times 3 is 9. Minus 1 would be 8. If x is a minus 1, we'd have a minus 1 squared. Minus 1 times minus 1 is 1. Minus 1 is 0. Minus 2 squared. Minus 2 times a minus 2 would be 4. Positive 4. Minus 1 is 3. And if x was a minus 3, we'd square a minus 3 would give us 9. Minus 1 would be 8. Now we're going to graph these sets of ordered pairs. We'll get a piece of graph paper here, and we'll draw our coordinate system on the graph paper, our x and y axes. X will be our horizontal, y will be our vertical. So this is 0. This is a positive x, positive y up here, minus x over here, and a minus y way down here. I'll write down my ordered pairs. We had 0, minus 1. We had 1 and 0. We had 2 and 3. We had 3 and 8. Minus 1 and 0. Minus 2 and 3. And a minus 3 and 8. Let's plot them. First number is always our x value. Second one is our y value. They're separated by a comma. So we have 0 for x, minus 1 for y would be down here. This would be a minus 1, minus 2, positive 1, positive 2, one, 2, 3, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3. All right? So, first one was 0, minus 1, which is right here. Second one, x equals 1. Here's x equals 1, positive 1. Y equals 0. This is that point. Next one is x equals 2. Y equals 3. 1, 2, 3 is right here. And our last one was x equals 3 right here, and y equals 8. We'd have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Way up here. So 3 and 8 would be right up here. This is 3 and 8. This is 2 and 3. And this is 1 and 0. This is 0, minus 1. Now, we'll plot the last three. We have x equals a minus 1. We're on the x-axis. We're in a negative 1 position. And y equals 0, so that's right here, minus 1 and 0. And then we have x equals a minus 2, and y equals a positive 3 would be up here, minus 2 and 3, and a minus 3 on the x is over here, and a positive 8 is up here. This is a minus 3 and 8. So here's our ordered pairs. If we connect them, we end up with a line that looks like this. Again, we've generated a curved line that we call a parabola. And this is for the equation y equals x squared minus 1. So let's take a look at all the graphs that we've generated today. The first graph that we looked at, we did a little review of what we covered last time. And our equation was y equals x plus 2, and we got this straight line. The next graph we did was this graph. It was y equals a minus x squared plus 4, and we got a graph that looked like this, a parabola that looked like this, a curved line. Look at the difference between these two equations. The difference, the main difference between these equations is the fact that in this equation our x is squared, and in this equation our x has an exponent of just 1. It's not being squared. This is called a linear equation. This is a linear equation. It's called that because it generates a straight line. This is not a linear equation. This generates a parabola. Let's look at the next graph that we did. It was y equals the absolute value of x minus 1. When we did this graph, we generated a graph that looked like a V. Straight lines, but they terminate and form a vertex here and go back up. This is not a straight line. It's got the absolute value sign. So when we're graphing absolute values, we're not going to end up with linear equations. And the last graph that we did, I don't see it right here, but it was another parabola. This was it. This was y equals x squared minus 1. Again, we're squaring our x term. And when we do this, we get a curved line. If you square the y term, you're going to get a curved line, only it's going to curve around this axis. When we square the x term, we curve around the y-axis. When we square the y term, we curve around the x-axis. But this is not a linear equation. It generates a curve. So a linear equation is an equation where the variables are not absolute values and where the exponents on the variables are 1. There's no squaring or cubing or raised to the 4th power. The exponents are always 1 on a linear equation. So that's the end of lesson 3.